This
responded.
video is about the time.
Okay, I don't know what. Oh, actually, I have watched some of her videos. Her videos are actually really good. I think she has one that's like called "Gay, Italian, and Pregnant," and it's about Luigi, and it's awesome. Like, is in Mario Luigi. But yeah, that was the that was the piss saga, guys. That was the piss saga. I hope you enjoyed it as much as I did. I can't believe it. In my own city of Los Angeles, he's out there somewhere. I guess he's done with his art. Or maybe he found another one that's been undiscovered. Who knows? Sears Furry incident? I forgot Silent Hill. This is more important. Okay, I don't know what this is. This is a 26-minute video. We could just keep watching stuff, I suppose. We could just do that. Hi, Rickles. Rickles, you missed the piss. I really don't like... I don't know. It's so good. Should I watch this? We could watch this. Or I could make you watch Gay, Italian, and Pregnant. I'm seated? Alright, okay, alright.
I'm in 2010 when Sears sold bootleg furry porn on their website and apparently had no idea. But 4chan found out about it basically right away, and they went, hey, you know what would be
I've never
funny?
watched this.
What
I've
if
never
we
watched
all
this.
started just mass buying this stuff at 3 in the morning? Now, understandably, Sears freaked the hell out
I
and
didn't know
started
about this.
systematically wiping the internet of any
that
evidence
King
they'd ever sold this. But if they
and
wiped
Waddle
the
Dee?
evidence, how am I making this video? Well, Sears made one fatal mistake that day.
Good night, Fizz.
Sears underestimated
Sleep
4chan,
well.
and now 4chan was about to majorly pants them by answering the most important question in retail history. Ready? What was furry porn doing on Sears.com? Who put it there? And how could something like this possibly happen to Sears more than once? This is the legend of the second
More than
worst thing
once.
ever sold at Sears.com. This is bad art history.
Alright,
Real quick,
I'm curious.
thank you so much for waiting so long since the last video. There will be no more breaks of this length. Also, really quick, metapcs.com/Frankie. Metapcs.com/Frankie. Buy a new gamer setup. Do it now. Throw that nasty, disgusting old computer out. Get a new gamer setup. Get it at a discount. Water-cooled, excellent customer service, genuinely some of the best people I've ever worked with in my life. I
What a
edit
rabbit
all
hole
of
we're
my
going
videos
down,
on
Giwi.
my
I am so
MetaPC's
excited for what
machine,
these will
and
do to
guess
your
what?
recommended.
The machine
Well,
is
I'm not logged
customized
in. I'm
with
not
Gangster
logged in, so
SpongeBob.
it will
You
do
can
nothing to
that
my
at
recommended.
metapcs.com/Frankie.
Also, she was already on my recommended because that's how I saw Gay, Italian,
metapcs.com/Frankie.
Pregnant.
On with the video.
It's about Luigi
It all
and
went
Preg.
down on May 1st, 2008, somewhere in Europe. So, the worst part of the story is already over. Now, there was this furry fetish artist living out there called Storm Dragon Blue. That day, he fires up his personal website, which contains dozens of works of fetish art, and he uploads his latest fetish creation. It's some fan art of the Kirby game series, which looks like this, depicting the villain character, King Dedede, who looks
I'll
like
resize
this,
a little bit.
penetrating a little minion creature called a Waddle Dee. And the whole thing kind of looks like this. And then something very weird happens. 3 years pass. It is now September
getting echo through your
25th
mic?
of
Oh, my bad.
2011.
My
As
head's too
legend
close
has it,
to the
somewhere around there,
microphone.
someone was shopping for pillowcases on
My bad.
Sears.com when he inexplicably scrolled past this.
Something weird already happened. You drew the art.
The Kirby-themed fetish art from the Netherlands had somehow made its way to Sears in the
True, Dave.
form of 631 household items. We're talking drawstring bags, teddy bears,
I
sleeping
want
masks for the
one.
misses, clocks, 200 types of magnets for some reason, even
I
a set
want
of
the
cufflinks. You could furnish your entire house with the Kirby hentai collection currently available at Sears, and it had apparently been sitting there since April of the previous year. So how does this happen? Now, this is one of those things that's so genuinely insane that we just have to go minute by minute. So here is the
I want the
timeline,
clock.
starting with the minute 4chan found out. September 25th, 3:21 a.m. 4chan Standard Time. A user begins
year?
a thread
What
on the
year?
comics and cartoons board with a link to one of the Kirby products. Quote, "What the flip is going on?" He explains that looking up the phrase King DDD
Amazing
drooling
content
while
to fall
eating
asleep through.
unlocks the part of the Sears
Well, it's
website with all the
educational.
hentai on it. So naturally,
Hey, Giwi, I
traffic to
love
the website
Kirby.
explodes.
Well,
And he
yay,
wasn't kidding, by the
you're
way.
in luck.
This term
you
returned
like King
pages
DDD?
and pages of household items with some very eye-catching pornography on them. At least, he's pretty sure that's what he saw. Keep that in mind. And the
Face
floodgate was
towel.
opened. Horrified 4chan users flocked to the retailer site and confirmed that, yes, these were real products eligible for in-store pickup
shipping.
and potentially in-store return. And apparently in-store returns take a long time. But there was no time to waste. Anons immediately begin theory crafting. One guy says what everyone's thinking. This has to be some kind of a prank. You know, some act of revenge against Sears by an employee. Another guy says, who's ever responsible, let's blame Reddit anyway. Wise words. Now, as rumors circulated, someone started a related thread on a website called
Hi, Adriana.
Something Awful. And those guys had an even better theory. Could it be that the Sears employee who approved this design or these products or whatever it was
What's good, Adriana?
simply didn't know what he was looking at? Because there was actually something about this
Adriana, we
drawing
just
that
watched
was
the Pissumentary.
very odd. I'm not allowed to show pornography on YouTube. Here's the full image with a minor detail changed. Can you tell? And I mean right away in the first nanosecond, can you tell what this is supposed to be? This might sound controversial, but I could not tell either. It took
think
me a
I
few
can.
seconds, and it is literally my job to identify images like this.
I think
now
I-
put yourself in the mind of an average adult, so a non-internet poisoned person, working for Sears in 2011, and you can see where the problem is starting to form. If you had never seen these characters before, or like most people, you were completely unfamiliar
I'll
with the
try to
concept of cartoon
sit on
adult
this couch and
artwork,
watch
or you
it.
just forgot
That's
your
right.
glasses at home that day, what you might see is some kind of a weird blue penguin drooling and lifting a ball towards his mouth, which is almost certainly where that bizarre search term DDD drooling while eating came from, because the artist certainly didn't title it that. But we're getting ahead of ourselves. 3:33 a.m. The 4chan thread hadn't been up for 15 minutes when one of the links breaks. It's probably nothing, 4chan thought. It's not like 200 of us are visiting Sears.com at 3 in the morning to buy a bumper sticker. This won't have consequences of any kind. 3:43 a.m. Another listing disappears, and then another, and then a dozen more. It was
No.
like 3 9/11s. And 10 1984s.
anyone?
And then, as if it couldn't get any worse, that was when some guy barged into that main 4chan thread and he said, "Hey guys, hi, do I have your attention? Yeah, fun's over. I told customer service."
No!
And this was followed by several people also claiming that they had tipped off Fox News and even Bill O'Reilly specifically. Now, whether they were trolling or not, by now Sears had absolutely noticed and they were shutting it down. And in some kind of horrible coincidence, and I'm not even being facetious when I say it's a horrible coincidence, you might not know this, but there were originally 5 4chan threads documenting this thing as it happened. And people were complaining that they kept
They
going in
ruined
and
it.
out. There's
They
evidence of
ruined
this
it.
on the main thread because the other 4 have been lost to time. And I don't know if they ever went back up, but they were never archived. There are like barely any survivors from this incident. I'm not saying Sears did it, but this certainly didn't harm the reputation in any way. I'm not saying Sears did it. That's crazy. Anyway, 3:51 a.m. Users are frantically taking screenshots and placing orders because there was no guarantee that Sears would even ship this stuff in the first place. And who knows,
Oh, I hope
maybe
people got
once
their
Sears
merch.
was done destroying the links, they destroy the witnesses.
I've never
A
heard of
distress
this.
call goes out to the rest of the internet. Guys, we have to find the artist. If anyone knows what this is doing at Sears, it would be the guy who drew it. Only he
Maybe.
didn't. 4:09 a.m. Storm Dragon Blue,
Anyone
that
could've
artist
just
behind the
taken it.
original image. He finds out that someone is selling his stolen fetish art at an American
could
big box
sue.
store. And not only did he have no clue what it was doing there, he kind of thought it was funny. At 5:13, he posts a short journal to his Fur Affinity page. He says, "Yeah, that's my art, all right." He claims he didn't feel that Sears was ripping him off, and he didn't see a point in suing, which was probably smart because you should keep in mind that he would be a Dutch plaintiff suing a major American retailer over copyright infringement on a piece of fetish art from a video game for kids and families, so it probably wasn't worth it. Time was passing and no one could dig up a compelling answer as to why this was on the Sears website. But they actually had a secret weapon this entire time. They just didn't know. Amidst all the posting and seething and theorizing, one user on Something Awful, a guy named Yoshi Jang, quietly places his order for one item. You know, just to see what this was all about. And this order was actually gonna bust the whole case wide open, but it wouldn't arrive for at least 5 days. And in the meantime, the search had gotten so desperate that detectives turned to the furries on Reddit, to which the furries on Reddit cryptically responded, 5 words: the Sears Human Flesh Grill. Part 2. The Sears Human Flesh Grill. Theory time. Pardon my French, but do you remember how I mentioned that this was not the first time Sears had some fucked up thing on their website? That's because it wasn't. They actually had a similar incident take place in 2009. And unlike the bootleg porn thing, this one made the news. So what happened? On August 20th of 2009, so only 2 years before this, a Reddit user called G Fixler discovered a rather hilarious design flaw on the Sears website. He posted his findings to r/funny, so this is a subreddit with an audience of thousands of people, and he explains the following. Some parts of the Sears website retrieved a lot of page information, not from a database, but from like information that the user was submitting. So if you changed a few words around up here, you could change anything in here. Naturally, this results in the Human Flesh Grill. Unlike most other retailers in the summer of 2009, Sears had a whole grilling section called Human Cooking, with subsections like body part roaster and grills to cook babies and more. But the craziest thing is that the Sears website was somehow even more clapped than anyone knew, because it also turns out that they preloaded frequently accessed pages, even if they were vandalized. So if you sent 100 people the link that you generated by messing up the website, the link to what is now, for instance, the Human Flesh Grill at Sears, and if even half of those people clicked on it, according to legend, congratulations, that was now the page that just showed up when you wanted to buy a grill. This was a dark day for Sears. TMZ, Snopes, and even Fox News had picked up the story. And when TMZ asked a Sears representative for comment, they could only say, "Oh my god, this is horrible, oh my god." Of course, being TMZ, they vastly overstated the case here. They called it vandalism when I guess it technically wasn't, and they made it sound as if Sears was being attacked by epic hackers, as opposed to by their own poor web design. So what part of this explains the Kirby Sears incident? Unfortunately, none of it. Returning to our investigation now, as much as 4chan and Something Awful wanted to believe that a Human Flesh Grill incident was the story here, you can't vandalize a website into shipping you something it doesn't already sell. And the multiple people in those threads who swore that they placed orders and they would show proof any second now, none of them followed up. 6 days and 600 deleted listings later, it was over.
No!
Sears had won. Or so they thought, because someone named Yoshi Jang revives the thread on Something Awful, because Something Awful had just arrived in the mail. It was real.
Yes.
I hope you didn't think this video was leading up to some kind of a rug pull, because not only was this unofficial Kirby dinner plate 100% real,
It's real.
it was even worse in person. Yoshi Jang did something unprecedented by having this demonic entity sent to his house. He did more than purchase the only dinner plate in the world with an image of King DDD having sex on it. He did more than confirm with physical proof what was seconds away from becoming an internet urban legend. And now online detectives had a massive break in the case, because this dinner plate actually gives us 3 major clues. 1, this is physical proof the products exist as described on the website, so this categorically is not vandalism. Sadly, we must rule out the Sears Human Flesh Grill, which, if we're being honest, was probably never going to be the answer anyway, but it was really funny and I wanted to share.
Bills,
Clue number
baby.
2. On the second page of that Something Awful thread, someone points out this company called Carson's Collectibles. Now, this is the name of the vendor that shows up on Sears.com and on the packing slip, so that is almost certainly our guy. So if this is a real product that somehow got approved, what kind of company would make this? Well, here's what they
Carson's
dug
Collectibles.
up. Carson's Collectibles is what is known as a third-party vendor, meaning they're not directly related to Sears, they're just allowed to sell stuff on their website. And that makes it hard to establish an internet footprint. But luckily, not only did Carson's Collectibles have one, it's really funny. According to this post on Something Awful, Carson's is run by a guy named Joseph C. Smith. And this guy really does have a thing with names because Carson's goes by multiple. Austin Custom Specialists LLC, Artsmith Inc., and Custom Specialists Notebook Store on eBay. Now, regardless of the name, Carson's claims to sell, quote, quality collectible merchandise to the public. Now, this is all kinds of dishonest. First of all, the public vocally did not like it. Carson's had an F rating with the Better Business Bureau because apparently their customer service was that bad. Second of all, you're probably wondering what kind of quality collectibles were they selling? It was gay hentai merchandise. Now, I want to say that this is a sentiment I've seen reflected in both threads. I was not able to find a screenshot to that effect, and obviously, even if I was, I couldn't show it to you. So please just take that with a grain of salt. So not only was this quality merchandise not suitable for the public, but given how many times this guy got banned from eBay, he probably used stolen artwork too. And that is the kind of thing that a certain pocket of the internet will notice. How do we know he's banned from eBay? Let's assume his eBay storefront with 3 billion 5-star reviews is legit. Even if that was true, this Carson's guy also left behind a couple of forum posts that read like this. Help. I'm banned from eBay. Does anyone know how I can get around this? I want to keep selling stuff. And if I wanted this video to suck, this would be a great place to end it, because on paper, this does answer all the questions. The when, the who, and the how. But the how of Kirby hentai being sold at Sears is actually much less interesting to me than the why. And this is where we get into our final clue. The third worst thing. 3. There are only 2 types of bootlegs in this world. The kind with weird cartoon porn on them, and the kind without. There's no way around it. I have to tell you about the Fat Albert Vor necklace. Part 3. Fat Albert. I know I'm throwing a lot of ideas at you right now, but I promise I will explain everything. So early on in both the 4chan and Something Awful threads, users remark on how much this Kirby Sears thing reminds them of other times in recent memory when fetish art appeared on merchandise. Art that they knew to be adult in nature, while others did not. And I know what you're thinking. Oh my god, here goes the YouTuber making a video essay hitting me with the I know what you're thinking. Well, I do know what you're thinking. I do know what you're thinking. And you're probably thinking, bootleg with incognito fetish art on it? Surely this cannot be a long list. So let's get into it. First up, someone on 4chan reminisces, wow, first those pregnant Gwen Tennyson stickers and now this. What is going on? For those who don't know what that is, in 2011, which I guess was like a huge year for this kind of thing, a sticker sheet inexplicably surfaced online depicting this young couple expecting a child. Only the young couple is a pair of 10-year-old cousins who act like siblings from the wildly popular kids cartoon Ben 10. Obviously, any bootleg fan art featuring a pair of pregnant cousin siblings would be innately funny to those who recognize what it's from. But when you start trying to answer the question of where did this seemingly innocuous artwork come from and for what reason was it made, it becomes abundantly clear
it looks so
this is 100% fetish art. It's just that there's no way in hell Grandma would know that when she's buying it for you at the store.
It's great.
Unfortunately, the original artwork for this proved hard to track down, and I had very little desire to actually find it, but I did find this Gwen 10 pregnancy art on DeviantArt, also from 2011. So I can only assume that this was a really big thing in the past. Next up, on Something Awful, another guy says, you know, the first thing this whole Kirby boondoggle reminded me of was that Fat Albert Rule 34
Mega Man out of my
charm
chat
that somehow ended up on eBay. Now let me break it down for you. Fat Albert, Fat Albert and the Cosby Kids, a cartoon that ran from 1972 to 1985, and being a cartoon, produced some merch. Rule 34, slang for pornography. Of course, that definition is so expansive on the internet as to include things like vor. Vor, or vorarophilia, is a fetish for swallowing someone whole or for being swallowed. Unlike the Sears flesh grill, this is not a cannibalism thing. It is just a fantasy, and one that enjoys inflated popularity on websites like Fur Affinity and DeviantArt. So putting it all together, the Fat Albert Vor ornament, vornament, if you will, was some kind of belly-themed fetish art that some guy found online and probably did not know to be adult in nature, and then he reproduced it in the form of this cubic zirconia chain ornament that was sold on eBay for $200. In the seller's own words, quote, "It depicts Fat Albert in movement, with Bucky caught in the way and against Albert's wide stomach. From kids to teenagers to adults, this charm is guaranteed to attract any age audience." Also, I recognize this is not the biggest issue here, but I'm pretty sure that's Dumb Donald. And the examples in the threads alone go on. Merch with Street Fighter, art, furry fetish mouse pads, weirdly sexual and threatening bumper stickers, things like that. Put simply, bootlegs like this, especially in the early 2010s it seems, are just tailor-made to be circulated on the internet because they're a seemingly alien arrangement of random pop culture items. They kind of scratch that, like, post-ironic itch. Harry Potter Sonic Obama backpack being an excellent example.
That one's awesome.
So I'm explaining all this for a reason. Why does this happen? Why does some bootleg merch have a weirdly sexual image on it that is only decipherable to brain-rotted internet people? I believe the simplest explanation is this. Bootlegging, especially in the realm of cartoons and anime and video games, is more commonly an enterprise in developing countries. Seven Granddad being the famous example.
Granddad!
And that means several things. For instance, that means there's a language barrier. So concepts like these two being cousins, let alone children, rendered in this art style, are lost in translation. And as mentioned several times before, the likelihood that the Indonesian or Chinese or Chilean manufacturer of these items, who probably just ripped this art from the internet at random, the likelihood that anyone involved knows that this odd-looking cartoon is actually fetishistic in nature, it's close to zero. I'm sure that is incredibly obvious to a lot of you, but I just really wanted to drive the point home for people who have never seen or even heard of this type of fetish art before. And I use the phrase fetish art because the fact is, and the elephant in the room here really, is that some fetishes are so abstract that for an average person, they would never register as anything other than weird art, even if they do give you that gut feeling.
Ads.
As the something awful thread point.
Do the people want me to pause for ads? Okay, all right, okay. Okay, all right, we'll wait for the ads. Which fetish art would you buy, chat, while we wait? Which one would you... Now, if you had to pick one item featured in this video to purchase and have in your home, which one would you choose? Is what I want to know. Which item do you want? Which one? Pregman? You want the plate? You want the Sonic backpack? Give me King Dedede? Yeah, okay. The Kirby one? It is kind of the star of the show here. The Sonic pickle jar? Yeah. Broly's ass? I bet you could still find that one. I've seen that image around circulating. Can I have none of them? No, sorry, Gene. That's not an option. You have to pick one, gun to your head. Or I pull the trigger. I'm afraid you have to choose. I'm afraid you do actually have to pick one, or else. King Dedede dish. Well, they also had a clock. Some of these ads, like wrestling on ESPN and sport betting app and spam ads, I don't know. I don't see my own ads, man. In fact, I don't watch any ads on Twitch because as soon as I'm watching a stream and an ad comes on, I tab out, and then I forget the tab exists because I have ADHD, and then I walk away from my computer and I forget what I was doing. So, you know, the fact that you guys are still here is really, it's a blessing for me. Ads over? Okay, cool. Let's continue. Yeah, I think, like, I just don't have... I thank you for staying, because, like, when ads show up for me, I'm fucking gone. I'm out of there. I sit up, and I stand up, and I leave the room.
Out. Quote, anyone short of being a total nerd is going to see these and think they are weird but just silly cartoons. And even if you disagree completely, let's agree on this. If it's popular, it's going on the book bag. And unfortunately, this absolutely applies to cartoon porn when it looks enough like the real thing. And on the topic of the real thing, let's finally, conclusively put it all together. Based on everything that I have learned about the Sears Furry porn incident, unless I am missing something major, in which case, please let me know. It is so difficult to research things like this. I do get things wrong sometimes. I apologize, but know that it is genuinely just because I don't know what I don't know. Anyway, this is how I believe things went down. In 2004, there's a new vendor operating out of Austin, Texas, called Carson's Collectibles. Joseph C. Smith, the man ostensibly running this business, makes mass-produced items on the cheap, most likely using a website similar to Cafe Press or any of those that let you print things onto mugs and t-shirts and so on. He applies to sell his wares on Sears' website and gets approved, which is great news because it looks like his eBay storefront is not doing too hot. Now, over in the Netherlands on May 1st of 2008, Storm Dragon Blue reposts his Kirby fetish art from his personal blog onto Fur Affinity. And I couldn't find a suitable place in the video to mention this, but this link is really important. On the same day, and this happens with Fur Affinity artwork all the time when it's adult in nature, on the same day this image is cross-posted to a website called Pahil, which is a massive adult image aggregation site. Pahil is the type of website that hundreds of other sites repost from. It's kind of like a cartoon erotica mothership, and this proliferation is most likely how the DDD image ended up in the sludge of Google image search results. And that will matter in a second. Now, from here, I think it could go two ways. Given Carson's history, alleged, of selling gay adult collectibles, the guy behind this is either a furry himself or just intimately familiar with what sells and where to find this type of furry artwork. Or, what I think is more likely, is this guy had a vague familiarity with video games, but not too much. I suspect that between May 1st, 2008 and April 27th, 2010, Carson's Collectibles scraped Google images for art related to Nintendo or Kirby or anything in that neighborhood. He was familiar enough with Kirby to recognize the character of King DDD by name, but otherwise misread the image because he wasn't brain rotted and called it King DDD drooling while eating. I guess there's like a chance he knew exactly what it was and he tried to sell it at Sears anyway. But I feel like the kind of person who would do that could not resist eventually taking credit for it, if even anonymously, because it would be like lay epic prank of the century. Unfortunately, why Carson's Collectibles specifically chose this image and named it that and tried to peddle it at Sears, we will never truly know. And the rest is history. Carson's unleashes 631 Kirby porn items onto Sears.com. And miraculously,
Kirby
no one notices for over a year, until they do, and then the whole thing gets swiftly memory holed. With one loose end. Why did this drawing exist in the first place? We must credit the artist. Storm Dragon Blue, who's gone by multiple aliases and currently goes by Mao Otter, has been active in the online furry art space since around 2007, so he's kind of a vet. He posted all sorts of fetish art to his personal website and to Fur Affinity, where he remains active today. Storm Dragon Blue is a connoisseur at the buffet table of furry fetishes. He's drawn everything from latex to inflation to weight gain to diapers to hypnosis to feet to tickling to transformation, like literally everything. And in a way, the Kirby art was actually the odd one out because it was actually just a gift for his friend. As he wrote in the original description, is it me or am I on a birdie art flood? Just about anything I draw has a beak. I dedicate this one to Gradius. I know you like him. DDD normally has a white belly, but I believe he looks sexier all blue. So that's it. This whole thing only happened because of fetish art between friends. And through a highly improbable series of events that could only ever happen on the internet, it went all the way up the chain of command and got sold at Sears. But I guess if you put something like that online, expect it to come Kirby right back at you. Oh, bro. This has been Bad Art History.
Wow.
Thank you so much to the patron cells for keeping the dream alive, and thank you to everyone who waited so long between videos.
She's a
no
genius.
more breaks like this. for the foreseeable future.
She's
if you
so
want
good at
uncensored videos and
documentaries.
outtakes where I
We're
laugh
gonna watch
and I mess
the
up my
Luigi one,
lines,
Leilani,
or if you
but
want to
I'd
see all
already
the extra
decided.
stuff that I don't put in this video, please consider joining the Patreon.
Oh my god. We gotta find. Oh my goodness. Hold on. Oh, I haven't seen most of these. Whoa. This one. This is such a good thumbnail right here. Gay, Italian, pregnant. We're watching this.
Taxi
Okay, we're not watching this ad.
is
though.
feeling unloved.
I guess we are. Shame. Okay, we're watching Gay, Italian, pregnant.
It's a strange time to be named Luigi.
Wait, hold on 1 second. No shame. Come on. Chill out. We got it. Come on, guys. Let's watch Gay, Italian, pregnant. Oh, well, hold up. 1 second. I need to refresh my stream real quick. It's lagging. Okay. My internet's a little fucked up tonight. Maybe that's for the best. Maybe it's what I deserve. But, you know. Okay. All right, let's let me resize this. Put this over here, like so. And then you can see all of my Silent Hill, tabs that I was remembering earlier. Okay. Here we go. All right, let me resize this real quick. That'll do. All right, it's time to watch Gay, Italian, Pregnant.
Luigi. Especially if you're fat, gay, and dating your brother. Since the dawn of the internet, Luigi, unlike Mario, has consistently been the target of the weirdest fetish art ever made. Whether he's 9 months pregnant, inflated, or passionately making out with his own brother, Luigi fan art is so bizarre that pundits have even accused it of attacking family values. But how did politicians find out about Super Mario incest in the first place?
Everyone knows
Why is DeviantArt obsessed with corrupting Luigi specifically? And how is his downfall linked to the housing crisis of 2008? This is the unbelievable sequence of events that got Luigi pregnant. This is Bad Art History. Like most things gay and weird, our story begins in the 90s with a company called Dick City Animation.
Because I can't stop thinking about the fucking Spider-Woman in that evil movie. She's a
But before we
beautiful
bust that
spider.
one open, in case you've never seen this, pregnant, inflated, gay Luigi is a subgenre of fetish art that's been floating around the internet for at least 15 years. And while it's easy to look at something like this and assume that it's nothing more than DeviantArt weirdness, as soon as you try to figure out where any of it came from, nothing makes sense. Why was almost all of it a one-time thing for the artists who made it? Irony alone does not explain this, but I think I figured out what happened. In the mid-2000s, 3 events would unfold in rapid succession and ruin Luigi's life. First, in 2005, some jabroni goes to the zoo and uploads a video of it to a new website called YouTube. Then, in 2006, a British kids channel begins airing reruns of a Mario cartoon so famously ass that it broke thousands of young minds. And in 2007, VHS tapes of this show would make their way into the hands of the infamous YouTube poop community. But we're missing something. There's only one character in existence who could have reasonably gotten Luigi pregnant. A character conspicuously absent from an obscure educational game from 1993. Mario is missing. Strap in for the most batshit crazy art history lesson of your life. In 1985, Super Mario Bros. Came out for the NES and changed the entertainment landscape forever. And I'm sure this is familiar to you, but to kids in the 80s, this was the equivalent of landing on the moon. So meteoric was Super Mario's success that a few short years and sequels later, it had inspired multiple shows, live action and animated, of hilariously inconsistent quality. It's worth remembering that during the 80s and 90s, cartoons made for the sole purpose of pushing action figures were becoming a fixture of children's entertainment, which, in case you ever wondered, is why they all have that look. But the Super Mario marketing department wasn't merely content traumatizing thousands of Gen X kids with two overweight Italians in front of a green screen. So they quickly got to work with more experimental types of spin-offs. And one of the earliest staples of hardcore PC gaming was born. Released for the MS-DOS in January 1993, Mario is Missing was a truly subversive point-and-click adventure game, in which you play as Luigi, who must rescue Mario from Bowser's clutches and foil Bowser's plan to buy enough hairdryers to melt all the ice of Antarctica. But the plot of the game is irrelevant, because its true legacy came in the form of one drawing. This unintentionally blood-curdling image of Luigi kind of just standing there and making a terrifying face. And this was the beginning of the end for Luigi fan art, for reasons you'll understand very shortly. The next summer, following the smash hit of Mario is Missing, a game would come out for the now infamous CDI console extension. A game so absolutely ass, with cutscenes so poorly acted and animated that the development team was firing staff halfway through production for making assets that were simply too ugly. The resulting monstrosity, Hotel Mario, became a cult classic for how visually offensive it was that it would come back into the fold 14 years later in the form of YouTube poops. And if you don't know what a YouTube poop is, you were way too young to be watching this. Get off my channel. But before we get there, you may be asking yourself, Frankie, this is all very educational.
Can you pull out your gun really quick?
But at what point does Luigi get pregnant?
No. We don't need to do that.
In addition to the growing collection of janky Luigi images generated by these games was a spin-off TV series called Super Mario World, produced by a now shuttered studio called The Incredible World of Dick.
Yup.
This show, much like Hotel Mario and Mario is Missing, was pretty charmingly bad. And it was quite the blink or you'll miss it phenomenon.
I think it was pronounced
it only ran for 3 months in 1991. But its greatest contribution, cementing it in shitpost history, was its final episode, Mama Luigi. The plot is pretty cut and dry. Luigi recounts how he found Yoshi as a baby and decided to take care of him, referring to himself like this.
That'll teach you to mess with my new little buddy Yoshi.
Mama Luigi.
Yep.
Cool it, caterpillar breath. I'm not your mama. Mama Luigi.
YouTube poops, the intellectual backbone of visual media. The stuff that so profoundly cooked my brain as a kid that I grew up to make videos about this. But what are they, and why do they matter? By definition, a YouTube poop is not just a video that sucks. It's a type of mashup made of pre-existing media that gained enormous traction in 2006. The availability of home computers, the monstrous popularity of Windows XP, and the prevalence of an editing software you may have heard of called Windows Movie Maker meant that just about anyone could slam together clips from games and shows, raise the volume to something known as ear rape, slap 300 rainbow filters onto it, and call it a day. These incoherent, seemingly random edits were a perfect fit for the 2000s era of explosive, random humor and took off almost immediately. And some of the most popular sources of media for this genre were Hotel Mario, Mario is Missing, and of course, Super Mario World.
And if you do drugs, you go to hell before you die.
Between 2006 and somewhere around 2012, you couldn't throw a stone in any direction without hitting spaghetti, Ouija,
Pesky plumber.
The Sky Had a Baby,
Squidward! The sky had a Pokemon from my cereal box!
and notably, Mama Luigi.
That's Mama Luigi to you, Mario.
But the metaphorical water most likely broke in 2008, when YouTuber Tippin' Man uploaded the legendary poop. Mama Luigi gets pregnant and dies. And the timing is no coincidence. Smack in the middle of the YouTube poop golden age, in 2009, this Luigi pregnancy fan art was gifted to the world. Created by DeviantArt Mpreg furry fetish artist Big Wolf, which is a sentence I defy you to tell me has existed before this. This palette-swapped Luigi was a cultural synthesis. Numerous fetish artists, likely inspired by some of the darker themes of these Mario poops, threw their hats into the ring with their own renditions of Luigi bearing a child, gaining dangerous amounts of weight, and so forth. And for what it's worth, YouTube poops touched on a variety of grave subject matter, including assault, pregnancy, unwanted fatherhood, death, and so on. But we're not even close to done with this yet, because there are two majorly confounding factors that we haven't even talked about yet: the recession and gay rights. Let's start with the gay stuff. To briefly return to where this all started, in the 90s, there was a massive development in the fan art space. In 1998, when I was 0 and therefore could not intervene, two bloggers going by the pseudonyms Talia Johnson and Texas Ranger coined the term MPreg, or at least its earliest known use online. While male pregnancy is by no means a recent literary invention, the rise of fanfic sites like fanfiction.net and AO3, among others, allowed untold numbers of devoted fans to publish literally anything they could think of. And while this is a separate, larger phenomenon of its own, the slow but unstoppable tide of anime and manga in the English-speaking world coincided perfectly with fangirl antics. And before long, by the mid-2000s, otaku culture was in full swing. Anime and video game fans of all kinds were watching educational about their favorite male characters making out, getting pregnant, being forced to shower together at Sonic Fighting Academy. You get the point. Pregnant dudes, in fact, are such a staple of fangirl culture that there's an entire genre of alternate universe fiction called the Omegaverse. The crux of it is like there's guys and gals who desperately need to get pregnant, and then there's like these other guys and they get those guys pregnant. Anyway. I know it sounds crazy, but they literally did this in Fairly Odd Parents.
We don't need to talk about
hour-long special where Cosmo gets pregnant and gives birth to a baby.
The baby I think that means it's coming!
It's worth noting that these gay pairings of characters that were usually not actually gay were largely done for the novelty and the taboo factor, not necessarily because everyone back in 2004 was especially impassioned about gay marriage. And because many of these fics were expressly written to be smut, there was also a great deal of incest. In fact, I remember when Orin High School Host Club was poppin' when I was like 11, I remember seeing those prehistoric memes, the twincest memes with the two twins. Does anybody remember what that is? Shipping siblings together because it was le smexy yaoi was relatively popular. And though Super Mario as a franchise never had the type of fangirl following that, say, Legend of Zelda did, there were nevertheless trailblazing DeviantArt users that would stop at nothing to make sure Mario got Luigi pregnant. Mario Bros. Yaoi Fan 12 was actually such a major influence on Super Mario incest that her artwork from 2011, mind you, still comes up in relevant Google searches today. But after 2011, there was a noticeable decline in the volume of pregnant Luigi art, which I believe coincides with the death of YouTube culture. As YouTube developed its corporate identity and sought to make itself more palatable to advertisers, its early, rough-around-the-edges era faded into irrelevance. And the fact was, in the early 2010s, calling things gay did not really hit the same. The topic of gay rights and gay equality was about to explode into the mainstream political discourse. And gay fan art that was once considered a gag and they aren't sexy had taken on a degree of post-ironic sincerity. Which is to say, even though there was no political appetite for incest, drawing Mario and Luigi locking lips was now seen as more completely universally funny than it possibly was offensive. But not by everyone. This joke fan art of Mario and Luigi making out, which funny enough actually did come from the YouTube poop era, randomly resurfaced in 2019 in the form of a hoax tweet by an account pretending to be Nintendo of America.
I remember.
The account, which misspelled the word Nintendo, tweeted the gay Mario incest image with the caption, "Happy #Pride Month. Our staff is filled with people of all sexualities, so we love supporting that." And even though anyone with eyes could see that this was a joke, British conservative commentator Sebastian Gorka felt the degree of wokeness on display was so off the charts, he fired back, tweeting at the actual Nintendo of America. So, Nintendo America is promoting incest now? Also, I want to be clear, Gorka is a human being, people fall for things all the time. Just recently,
brother.
I saw a tweet
That's
about
what Mario
a totally
was saying.
bogus lost media game from like South Sudan called The Adventures of Sexstick, and I uncritically just believed it was true. I just thought this was a particularly funny interpretation of that tweet. And now
That's
that we
awesome.
covered shitty educational games, janky cartoons, YouTube poops, and super incest brothers, I have saved the craziest part for last. I have a theory about the 2008 recession and Luigi inflation and thickness that is so genuinely insane that I only teased it in the intro because I did not actually want to lead with it. But I think there's potentially a little something there, so please
Welcome back for your
hear
35th
me
stream
out.
stream.
As you may remember, the recession
Hell
began
yeah.
in the tail end of 2007 and was over by the summer of 2009. Recession pop, as it's retroactively been called, was characterized by optimism, loudness, and excess. And following in this theme of general excess, common wisdom tells us that in times of financial or resource hardship, men tend to prefer a more voluptuous female figure because it suggests biological fitness. But in order not to go off speculation
Like
alone, I found
Luigi.
contemporaneous articles from 2008 and 2010
Interesting.
suggesting that attitudes in the US during the recession and after were shifting in the direction of thickness. Studies from 2013 and 2020 also positively state that in times of hardship, men tend to prefer a curvier body. This also lines up, potentially as a coincidence, with a more bottom-heavy, ample beauty standard throughout the 2010s. Now, I'm not saying this is causative, or that it is the sole reason for the spate of Luigi weight gain and inflation art in the 2010s.
It all circles back to Kim
However,
Kardashian.
I could not help but notice the intersection of loud, excessive, bombastic, early 2010s humor, of the rise of the thick movement, and Luigi art that looks like this. And as for this artwork, by the way, though this image was fleetingly a meme in 2019, it's actually legitimate fetish art made by artist Lou the Pyro. The fetish in question, butt inflation. This is just my game theory. There is, as you can imagine, zero research into this topic. I just really needed to tell you that I made this observation during the research. And this leaves us with merely one loose end. Why
fan art is a
Luigi?
recession
This
indicator.
question does not have a
Apparently,
single answer, but the simplest explanation is that Luigi is portrayed as the younger, taller, slimmer, timid counterpart to his older brother. Put simply, he's kind of adorable. And if DeviantArt specializes in nothing else, it's taking a character you find wholesome and corrupting him in a way that sends you to therapy for the rest of your life. In fact, one of the more well-known examples of sexy Luigi corruption art that you have most likely seen is this image of a muscle-bound Luigi made by an unknown artist in 2015. Though something about this feels distinctly like joke fetish
This is like
art. Fetish art is fetish
is like
art.
an
This
art
illustration, known by its
history
moniker,
slash
that's how it
documentary
is on this
watch
bitch of
along
an
stream
earth, fully
today.
subverts Luigi's character by depicting him as stoic and
Avant-garde art.
powerful. Though the original drawing did not actually include any text, the version that was widely circulated in 2015 in the form of this picture of a blanket gained such notoriety that even Shadman, an artist with a reputation for being horrendously edgy and offensive, made raving rabbids fan art of this. And if you were curious where the quote came from, amazingly, it is not actually just an edgy meme. It originates from the 1953 play
Wasn't he in jail?
Waiting for Godot, as authored by Samuel Beckett. Freaky Luigi
Actually, I
art
think he's out
continues
now.
to surface on Twitter, DeviantArt, and the usual suspects. But it seems that his intense affair with inflation and the miracle of life is over, at least for now. YouTube poops are still being made, but they are nowhere near the cultural force that they used to be. And this doesn't really have to do with the video, but I need you to know that while working on the Luigi video, I was incapacitated for a week with back pain. Luigi and back pain. I genuinely could not come up with more insane timing for a joke if I tried. Because that's how it is on this bitch of an earth. This has been Bad Art History.
Wow.
This video was made possible by scum cells like you. Thank you. Please consider joining
that's
the
her fan
Patreon
name?
for uncensored cuts and blooper
Wow.
reels that are getting longer every video, I promise.
I just saw a new Sonic one made yesterday.
With
Yesterday? Holy moly.
fucking read this
That's
next line,
awesome.
I can't.
I love Nintendo
Oh my
America.
God. Tweeted the gay Mario incest image.
This
It's
one's
making
really
me
good.
laugh too much. Bro, imagine being worst way I can imagine one person. Loki, my dad. I think you would be majorly offended. You would say this is disgusting. Why is this getting me so bad? Bro, I never break character like this. I never go crazy like this. But the gay Mario incest image. Did you know that I don't tell my family about YouTube? I just tell them I'm a video editor.
That was great.